And he goes to the conclusion of a internal feeling to justify an external objective truth. So I say all that to say there's nothing wrong with fear as a motivator. This man believes in these conspiracies more than he believes in God.
Just watching someone young not realizing
The consequences.
and then stepping into like immense amounts of fame and attention.
Ruslan.
He says here this whole argument of like you feeling love, right? Like he reduced the idea of God to feeling.
Yeah.
What is that? Like what? Why?
What Sneako was?
Yeah, pull that back one more time.
God, you can't observe that feeling either.
So Sneako makes a good point. Sneako says, hey, there's certain things you can't observe that you acknowledge are real, right? But then he goes to the conclusion of a internal feeling to justify an external objective truth.
Ooh.
I don't think that's a good argument for God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think the better argument is there's objective truth, where if we're looking at the origin of the universe, we're looking at the fine-tuning theory, which I believe that was it Christopher Hitchens? Who just debated Francis Collins?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Hold on, let me pull it up.
It reminds me of like Sneako was more new age. He was more energy type of guy previously. So it seems like as he dipped his toes into the red pill, and when I say dipped his toes, I mean jumped in head first. Okay. As he dipped his toes into the red pill, he got kind of the Andrew Tate Orthodox appreciation. And so it seems like he kind of just took his same core beliefs of energy and new ageism and bundled it into religion.
Yeah, but bundled into a theism. Or
yeah,
whatever.
because it's like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. So check this out. I'm gonna go to my angle. Check this out. So there's a video. You guys should all go watch this. I'll play a little bit of this right now.
It's obviously the area you're...
So this is Richard. Put it back on me. This is Richard Dawkins. Okay, one of the leading atheists in terms of like debates and stuff like that. Which, by the way, his brother's a Christian.
Oof.
Interesting, right?
Dark.
Richard Dawkins is discussing this on Premiere Unbelievable with Francis Collins, and basically says that the fine-tuning of the universe is a good argument for God. And so I find it interesting that and you guys should watch this. I did a video on this. I find it interesting that Sneako would go to the internal, because it is, you're right, it is very like new age, woo-woo.
Yeah.
You know,
the energy you get from looking in your daughter's eyes, like that's God.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well,
it's not God, but
because I'm pretty sure he has or had RIP videos talking about God and theism and his idea of God, and it was all the energy. It was nothing new. It was all the new ageism.
It was very Andrew Tate.
No, I think it was way more like new age and energy. And then Andrew Tate is, he's more like idealistic. Like he likes
the idea
of religion and kind of the practicality of it. Yep. Whereas I feel like Sneako approached God from like a agnostic energy. You know, there's something out there, and then he bundled it in to maybe be kind of cool and fit in with Andrew Tate, to being like, yeah, I think the principles of religion. I feel like Sneako's the same type of dude that'd be like, religions cause all death and war. It's horrible. And then he meets Andrew Tate, and he's like, you know, religion has great principles. I really appreciate everything about religion, really.
Yeah, let me play some of this. Let me play some of this on my end.
So don't be that guy, bro.
But then I want to bring up Jordan Peterson said something that I really resonate with. He was saying that he struggles believing in God. And I was the same way as you, Andrew. I was an atheist for a long time. I grew up in the church, and then I rejected it for a long time. I didn't believe in God. And I think I found God from seeing all the evil that runs the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Seeing the demonic and satanic.
Which, by the way, it's not uncommon for people to see evil and be like, okay, the world's super dark, and there's a lot of evil out there, and therefore, if evil is real, then there has to be the opposite of evil.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Which is funny, because that's often approached in like a, how do you approach the problem of evil?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because once you become a theist or a Christian, all of a sudden then it becomes a question of, well, then how do you deal with the question of evil? That's a big hurdle, right? And so Sneako says, I was anti-religion, and then I became more religious once I discovered there's evil. And I would say good. I would say good. The things that got me thinking about it initially, once I stopped living my life however I wanted to, was 9/11. Like after seeing the planes crash the towers and the towers come down, I was like, wait a minute, there's something to this.
I felt like I wasn't a coherent being at that time, but every story I hear from someone that was coherent during 9/11, that's like rocked their world.
Yeah.
They went like
9/11
overseas.
was
They
a big
joined
deal.
the Marines. Like it was like,
yeah. So I say all that to say there's nothing wrong with fear as a motivator. Like there's nothing wrong with fear. Like it's okay to have a degree of fear and like, whoa, there's some evil out there. And that's what Sneako's saying in this clip.
That must mean in the inverse that God exists. Completely. Jordan Peterson said that it's best for him to encourage his followers to follow God because that's the best way society functions. So I am saying, I always tell my stream to follow God. I praise Christianity, praise Islam, praise Judaism.
See, the issue though, when you conflate all three of those are very different worldviews, Sneako. Those are very, very, very different worldviews. You know, and you flesh that out to their logical conclusion. In Christianity and Judaism, it's kind of the same, but 2 out of the 3 are saying you have to earn your way to God by doing things, and the other one says God made his way to you and did the ultimate thing that no one ever has to perform again.
Yeah, but that's his New Age side coming out. That's just the idea. That's like the New Age people think they're like the more developed religious person, where they're like, yeah, everyone that believes in religion, there's good principles there, but I'm one level further where I believe they're all pretty much the same. And as long as you guys are following a general principle and honoring a God, an idea, something that is bigger than yourself, you're living in a good way. So that's why you can be like, yeah, that's why you can be like, I don't lump Christianity and Judaism and Islam, because it's not the ways to salvation that he's emphasizing. He's just emphasizing the theistic aspect of it.
Yeah, and yes, totally. And so I guess the challenge with that is those have very different conclusions about what is and isn't appropriate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a very Western, like, kind of woke way of approaching religion.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's some that are really bad.
Islam is considered a protected, marginalized group on YouTube. And he's gone back and forth with some Muslims and then really changed and softened and then kind of had the whole like Young Don debacle where he had Young Don debate 4 Muslims. Surprisingly, Young Don did very well, especially as a new convert.
Yeah.
So, but I say all that to say, I don't think he can get an objective view of how different those faiths are. And again, I would say Judaism to Christianity is very similar, but there's a lot of differences with regards to Islam and what is allowed and what isn't allowed and all these different things. It's just a big contrast. So to conflate those is just like, well, yeah, like they all generally say like, don't steal and like don't lie, right? So they're good.
Their punishments for the same things that they require are drastically different.
Very different. Very different. And the things that are permissible in the name of God are very different.
Oh, yeah. Like the definition of, like how they define God's nature is like so drastically.
I'm about to go to Israel.
Hey, that's going to be life-changing.
Israelis, they're different.
What do you mean?
They about that smoke.
What do you
Bro,
mean?
the whole Pakistan, the whole, like the whole like West Bank and how they treat folks in Gaza Strip, like anyone that wants any smoke, like them Israelis is something else, bro. Like, Israelis are known for like elite level of militant, like heavy-handed, what will punch you in your throat? Like Israelis are, you know what I mean? Like they don't mess around. Like
it's nuts.
Yeah, bro. The strong military, strong frame.
They're all
that
required
kind of
to serve in the military after 18, men and women.
Yeah, I mean that just shows you the type of So I'm just saying all that like it's very different.
Yeah.
And I think we need a strong military. I think strong military is good, but Israel has a very strong military, and it's probably because of their past, because of the Holocaust and all that kind of stuff.
We're not going to play us.
Yeah, never again, never again. And so, very different in terms of like what consequences and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's keep
because
watching.
It's good, but I still struggle with the belief that God is the Father. How much do you really talk about God because you?
Interesting. So God is good, but I still struggle with the idea that God is a father, the personal style of God, right? Like the personal style of God.
And how much do you talk about it because it's the best thing for the 50,000 people watching to follow?
That's a good question, but I absolutely and utterly believe, but I think that the way I view God is slightly different than a lot of people perhaps think of God. I don't see it. It's not a matter of reading the book and thinking there's a guy in the sky who's watching over you. I think that you can see God as an idea. Jordan Peterson's trying to tell his followers to believe in God because he likes the idea of the collective consciousness behaving in a certain manner. And I think that when that happens, God within itself exists. If you have 100 people in a room and they all do good things in the name of God, well, then God's real, right? Because God's making 100 people act good and righteous. So you can't say God's not a real force. Whether you want to call him a person, a force, and I
see, then you got to trickle down. Like, what does that mean as good and righteous?
Yeah.
According to who? Good and righteous according to Andrew Tate.
Good and righteous according to
Mr. I've slept with 7 women at the same time. Like,
whoa.
He said that. That's what Pierce Morgan held him to that. Like, good and righteous according to that standard of good and righteous, or good and righteous according to the standard of God. It's a completely different standard there.
Yeah, man.
You know?
That's heavy.
Somebody said respectfully, Babby said respectfully, I can't respect a man's view on God when he said he would slap him in the face when he goes to heaven.
Who said that?
I thought he said
Sneako?
He'd smack Satan. I thought he said smack Satan. But anyway, regardless, either way, it's wrong. It's okay to say it's wrong.
Inclination, whatever it is, God becomes a real thing. I know that if you act in a certain way, if you act in a godly way, the world is a better place. And by extension, God.
Who defines godly?
Yeah,
right.
He said if you act in a godly way.
What does that mean?
By what standard?
According to who? That looks very different in North Korea.
Oops.
Right?
Yeah.
North Korea godly is completely different than, Armenia godly. Totally different.
Yeah.
So what are you saying? Who's God? Righteous God? It's like all these words are used, but anyway.
If you act in an evil way, then the devil must exist. Like you said, all the demonic, dangerous things they're doing in the world today. Does that mean there's a man underneath the ground covered in fire who's making them do it?
He said Tate said he would. Babby, he did. Tate said he would smack God, but he said he would take over hell from Satan, which both don't make sense. Yeah, I didn't know he said that. Either way, man's he
also,
says all kinds of stuff.
Was that before or after his self-proclaimed Orthodox?
He changed teams.
Yeah, he changed teams.
Supposedly, allegedly. They look like caricatures of stereotypical masculinity with cigars and glasses. Oh, this whole thing is a complete cosplay. Like the sunglasses inside.
Yeah.
Like the designer clothes. Like the only guy that looks normal here is the gentleman in the middle, and he's just there because
That's hilarious.
He's just there because he wants friends. Like there was a part of the interview like, why do you stream? And he's like, I just like being with my brothers. I just like being with my brothers.
Could you imagine?
It was but it was the most genuine thing out of any of those guys. Like he was just like, I just like hanging out. Like I just like friends.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I just like being around friends. Like it's just fun. The rest of the guys are like, like it's like these like we're gonna change the world nonsense. It's like, come on, bro. But anyway, yeah, this whole thing looks like a South Park episode.
But also, it's like at least Andrew Tate had some sort of like original aesthetic with all of this, and it's really funny how a lot of these like red pill guys, Fresh and Fit, Sneako, fall in line with the aesthetic of the alpha in the room. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they self-proclaim to be alphas, but when you click into their videos, into a video of all of them, they look so much like followers. Mm-hmm. They look like they're following the hottest guy in the room. I mean, I'm not saying hottest but
that's the thing. Like
I'm not saying hottest by like beauty.
No. There's a dominant alpha that is clear, and then they're kind of fall in line. That is what it is. That's not a knock on Tate. That's just the reality of the dynamic here.
Oh, 100%. But it's just funny seeing all these guys that are like, I'm the alpha. They run all these podcasts and stuff, and then when you put them in a big room, they're all just a bunch of followers.
Andrew say so. Anyway, look, people could live their life how they want to. People could do what they want, right? 1 Corinthians 5. It's none of my business what people do. It's none of my business what Andrew Tate does. It's none of my business what Adam 22 does. I don't care.
Yeah.
The moment you start speaking with God as if you're an authority.
Ruslan has entered the chat.
The moment you start appropriating religion to finesse your own whatever agenda of streaming, which, by the way, Sneako is now on his 3rd channel, which...
Bro, when I was grabbing B-roll for the intro today, I saw the stream in which it was his last stream before he got completely blocked. Did you ever see that? And he was literally just rattling off all these conspiracies.
He was out of control. He's out of control.
Bro, he was rattling off all these conspiracies, but when he gets the notification that he lost it.
Whoa.
Before they cut him.
No.
And he goes, no. And you see his face like sad. And it's the least like
I don't like anybody getting deplatformed.
I know, but going back to this idea,
sad and funny at the same time.
It is, because going back to this idea of like this man had no plan. There was no like at least Tate could, even if he didn't have a plan, he could say, I said a long time ago there's 3 phases, on to phase 2. Yeah. Like he was able to
your Tate impressions is heat.
Thank you. He's going onto phase 2 theoretically, and it seems like he has a plan and he's kind of unaffected.
Yes.
Whereas this man Sneako's just popping up random channels. When he gets cut, he's like, no.
The Vietnam War, they lied about the Iraq War, they lied about World War II, they lied about...
And I'm not even going to say whether these are all conspiracies or not.
Just play it faster, please, too.
They lied about the cocoa.
Pause it. This man's okay. He went off the deep end. He definitely went off the deep end.
He did. No,
he went all the way off the deep end. He's literally rattling off every single thing.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't even making videos about it.
Like just logically speaking, these things all can't be false.
He's like reading a script.
They can't all be a massive multinational conglomerate, right top down.
Everyone's like, let's do World War II, yeah?
We're gonna World War II, and then we're gonna fake the Vietnam War. And now that's not to say like those things were done right or ethically. Like that, there was all kinds of issues with Vietnam. There was all kinds of issues with 9/11. There's all kinds of, but to just be like, they first of all, who's they?
They lied.
That's
what was
where
the lie?
That's where you go down the anti-Semitic route. Usually, nine out of 10 times. Oh yeah. The lizard people, bro.
So people,
the lizard Zionist.
That goes all back to like people talking about Jews?
Yes, bro.
Wow.
Yes.
So people think Jews run the world like that.
That's why Kanye's getting in trouble. The Zionists and the multinational, like it's all gonna go back to George Soros and the Zionists, bro. I don't even want to say this stuff, but that's where it all goes. The elites, all that stuff. And it's like, bro, most people can't keep a secret amongst their friend circle.
Yeah.
Most people can't keep a secret in high school.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that the lizard people who run the world got this whole thing orchestrated?
Yeah.
For every event in history.
Across many different cultures.
Across multiple nations, cultures, and timelines.
bro, the cultures and the ages and the like you're finding people from one side of the world and another side of the world that have the same exact thought and they're also in the same position is nuts.
Wild. So that's not to say that there aren't some real conspiracies. I just say they're all right in front of you and you're so distracted that you don't even care.
Time and time again. A lot of it you can't prove, but the ones you can prove, they lied about the Vietnam War.
Pause it. This man believes in these conspiracies more than he believes in God.
Oh.
He believes in stuff you can't prove more than he believes in a theistic Christian God that you can, like, there's substantially more evidence for God than there is for, like, any of the stuff he's about to say.
That's nuts.
Look up the Gulf of Tonkin resolution if you don't believe it. They pretended like the Vietnamese bombed this boat so that we could finally go into war with Vietnam. You know, most of the citizens knew that it was bullshit, and so they just made up this attack to convince people through fear that we should go to war with Vietnam. The Iraq War, they lied. They said that they had weapons of mass destruction, so we invaded them, and there's soldiers still there today. We lied about weapons of mass.
So that's true.
Yeah.
Right? That's the issue. Is some of this stuff gets sliced in to stuff that's completely nonsensical.
One thing that's true doesn't mean all the other
all
things
of it is
on your
true.
Big list.
But people who are into this sort of stuff usually have all or nothing style of thinking. They're very binary, right? And it's all or nothing mentality. And so, well, we know that the Iraq stuff is true. They came out and said so.
Yeah.
Right? But so then that means everything else is true? Come on.
Soldiers still there today. We lied about weapons of mass destruction so we could take all the oil from them. They lie. No!
Pause it. Oh, that's whack, bro.
It's heartbreaking, huh?
It's so heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking because you're viewing it as someone that has worked really hard for your YouTube channel.
Yeah. And Sneako's been doing it longer than me.
So
at a great elite level of artistic.
Long.
Yeah. And his main channel was heat. Like before he started streaming, he was amazing.
I found his main channel a long time ago. Like way before he was on any of this stuff. And I was like, oh, he makes some interesting videos. Like he's also just like kind of hyper new age or like super like, he was already on some like, the world's lying to you about, but he wasn't like nuts. And that he would make very introspective videos. So it's crazy to just kind of flush all that down with this. Like that's kind of sad, bro. But you're also looking at it from someone that has worked hard for a YouTube channel and you understand, but also it's not like there wasn't a warning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was warned.
He just wasn't playing by the rules for multiple times, and it's sad to be like that cognitively dissonant that you think you can just like keep doing the same thing over and over again because you've been on the platform for a long time that you won't get blocked. And he was like, I think his main channel never had any strikes. So he thought, let me just run this channel to the ground and see how it does. If I blow up and I never get blocked, or if I get blocked. I can go to the main channel.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, dude. It's like just watching someone young not realizing
the consequences,
and then stepping into like immense amounts of fame and attention without. It's like the same thing you always say. Like if you had the same attention and success you have now back when you were in your early 20s, you would have been like off the deep end.
Yep.
And they said that Simeon blessed God.